Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Bangladeshi Perspective. This is a pre-recorded interview, so by the time that you're seeing this, the interview would already have been over. But if you forgot me, my name is Fahrisa Islam. I'm a new show host for the Bangladeshi Perspective, and today it's my huge honor to have Shomy Apu with me as our esteemed guest. I was thinking about how to actually distill everything that she has done in the title of this interview, but she has done so much that it wasn't possible. But hopefully, if you stick around for the whole interview, you'll be able to hear all the awesome things that she has done. Shomy Apu, do you want to say something to our audience?
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much, Fahrisa, for having me. I'm really happy to be here and excited to speak to you.
Thank you so much for making time. I know that you're very busy, and ever since we scheduled the interview, I see you doing so many different things on Facebook. I'm like, wow, the fact that she made time for this, it's a huge honor. I guess just to begin with, you have done so much that it's very difficult to find one thing to start off with. But I guess can you walk us through your educational journey, where you went to school in Bangladesh and where you went to school for your university degree, and sort of how that path has left you where you are today?
Sure. I went to Ondesh International School and College, where I completed my O-levels and then I did my AS. And then I went to, for high school 12th year, the senior year, I went to US under the Kennedy Lugar Youth Exchange and Study Program. It's a US State Department funded program to do my senior year in Sheboygan Area High School, which is in Sheboygan, Michigan. After that, I came back in Bangladesh. I got admitted in North-South. And then I transferred my credits to Universiti Putra Malaysia. And finally, I completed my undergraduate in economics from Universiti Putra Malaysia.
Wow. I think a lot of people, so I had a friend who went on the YES exchange program as well. So I think a lot of people in our audience are actually really young kids in Bangladesh who are, looking to go abroad, and some of them don't actually consider doing an exchange year in their high school. Like they think that, the earliest I can begin is probably undergraduate, or some people know about United World Colleges. But if you could just tell us about your motivation to do that exchange year abroad, and what was that experience like? Do you think it left you with motivation and insight that made you who you are today?
Absolutely. So honestly, YES program is like the highlight of my career. I love speaking about YES because that's like my best year ever. So I highly recommend and encourage everyone to apply for this. Any 15 to 17-year-old student can apply, as long as he or she has are eligible for the other requirements. But this is such a great opportunity, not just knowing about the American culture, because you get to live with an American host family, you get to go to an American high school. The education system is quite different. And also not just that you get to learn about American culture, but also you get to represent your culture as a youth ambassador. That is also, when you're like 16, 17, that is a huge deal to actually represent officially your country to them. So for example, when I was in Sheboygan, I was pretty much the first person there. Like I've met so many people who never even heard about Bangladesh. I felt so proud and happy to actually represent my country and tell them about our history, our culture, our traditions. So it's a great opportunity. And another important thing is, when you're in that program, you get to do a lot of community service, and the YES program is where actually I got to do community service in such a great extent. So that is another key aspect of my community service journey. Also, you get to meet a lot of people, not just from America, but there are so many other exchange students from different countries. So you get to know about a lot of different cultures. So so I highly recommend everyone to apply for it.
And what's the application process like, just in case anyone wants to do so from the audience? If you could summarize, did you have to write essays? What grades did you have to submit? Anything like that.
Okay, so actually, I'm not sure if it's the same now because I know that some things have changed. It's like I don't know 8 9 years ago. But to begin with, you have to fill out an online application form. I think it's best if people check out the IRBD page and the Yes Alumni Bangladesh page. They'll be there to help out with any questions and such. But in general, I guess in the beginning you have to fill out an online application form, and once you get through that screening period, and then you'll have to sit for an English language test. Um, and then there will be an interview, which is a group interview as well as an individual interview. And I think they have added in the recent few years, they've added a phone interview phase as well, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, there are like 3 or 4 stages, and then you have to fill out a huge form where you have to write a lot of essays and stuff. It's a long process, but it is definitely worth it.
Well, so I guess like something that you mentioned, no one even hearing about where Bangladesh is before you were an exchange student there. And I have heard this from a lot of people that um, there's lots of qualms that we have with our country when we're actually living in Bangladesh. But once we go abroad and we are like an ambassador for our country, we really have to dig deep and reflect on like what makes Bangladesh home and what makes it something that we are very proud to represent. So would you say you had a similar experience, and do you think it made you love your country more?
Yes, absolutely. So one of my favorite experiences from my exchange year is, so there's this week called the International Education Week. It is somewhere in the time of November. So during that week, all the YES program scholars, they're expected to make presentations to in their high school. So you can choose any class and present about your country. So I really liked doing that so much. Just the fact that everyone is actually sitting there and listening to me about my country, and they're so curious. There's so many questions. I planned on doing 2 or 3, but I ended up doing 17 presentations in a week, and I covered like not just my high school but also the elementary school in my community, the middle school in my community, the church, to my host family, to my exchange student cluster. So I really liked it. So in one of those presentations, it was actually in my high school auditorium. And it was a full auditorium. A lot of people were there. And when I ended my presentation, I asked everybody to stand up because I was going to play our national anthem. And that moment, like I had goosebumps. It was such a proud moment for me, that everyone is actually, they know about my country and they're all standing up, respecting my country. So it was a huge deal for me. And so yes, I definitely felt way more proud when I went abroad to represent my country.
And I'm a tremendous job of Bangladesh everywhere. And yeah, so I think if there's any audio issues, you can mute on your end when I'm speaking, and I can do the same. But yeah, I think the audio issues is gone now. But yeah, I think you've done an absolutely tremendous job representing Bangladesh ever since, and doing 17 presentations in a week. I mean, you were always a hard worker, it seems. Yeah, so like, if you want to talk to me a bit about like how did you transfer your credits to Universiti Putra Malaysia and your experience in Universiti Putra Malaysia, because I know that you were a recipient, like I think the first international recipient of the Putra Icon Award. So if you can talk to me a bit about like what you did for your undergraduate degree and what you did in Malaysia when you were a student there.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, so regarding the credit transfer thing though, so there has been a bit of a misunderstanding. So it was me and my friend Rijvi, we both applied to transfer our credits from North-South to UPM. Mm-hmm. But we were trying out different universities, right? Because we wanted to transfer those credits. So UPM said that they would accept it, but there was some sort of misunderstanding from both ends. So actually they don't accept credit transfer. So it's called a horizontal transfer program, but I wouldn't really recommend anyone going for that because it's a lot of hassle and it's not really. So ultimately you can say pretty much we had to do the entire degree. But so definitely I wasn't prepared for it because I thought that I would need like 1.5 years maximum to finish it. But when I found out that I would have to start pretty much from the scratch, it was quite hard for me. Like mentally, I was not ready for it, first of all. And second of all, I had to repeat a lot of courses. And a 4-year degree is a lot to take in, because you're not prepared for it. But then the best part about UPM is you can take a lot of credits in. It's not like you pay a certain semester fee and then you can take a certain number of credits maximum. But they also allow some specialty, which is if you can manage your CGPA, if you can keep up your CGPA above 3.5, then they will let you take even more credits, higher credits. So that's what I did and my friend did as well. So we really tried very hard to keep up with our CGPA so that we can take more credits, more credit load, and finish it as soon as possible. So we were actually the first two students in the entire university to finish the whole 4-year degree in 5 semesters. So yeah, including internship and everything. So it was a huge deal for us because because we are like the first students, so we had to go through a lot of we had to write a lot of letters and everything. But what I learned from this experience is that anything is possible. So there were times in like my last semester, for example, I thought it will be my last semester. I have a few courses left, but there was a time clash. So 3 of the courses during the same time, and it's just one lecture offered. So we were almost about to give up, but then we really, we were persevere and we wrote to a lot of people, and finally we did manage, all of these hassle. So that was hard, challenging, definitely. But at the same time, it's now that we are done, we feel really accomplished about that. Also, not just studies. At the same time, we were involved with a lot of, other extracurricular activities, like our own organizations, and also a lot of university events as well. So overall, we kept ourselves busy, but thankfully, because I had to do a lot of trips abroad during my study, if my teachers were not supportive, I wouldn't have been able to done this. So they really supported me throughout the way. And then in 2019, Rijvi and I, we both were we were awarded with the Putra Icon Award for our for balancing it studies as well as extracurricular activities. It was overall, it was a very learning and rewarding experience.
Wow, that sounds so amazing. I mean, you did an entire degree in 2.5 years, and knowing how much you did apart from academics, this is really impressive. And I definitely have to ask you about time management a bit later in the interview, but if you could then talk to me about social work. So when I was reading your bio and coming up with questions for this interview, firstly, I was very overwhelmed again, because so much that you have done and so much there is to talk about in a very short period of time. But also you have done more than a decade of social work, and you have been recognized for it by the Obama Foundation and the Royal Commonwealth Society and so many other amazing global organizations. So I know that you mentioned that your social work journey started when you were an exchange student in US. But how did you continue it on? After you came to Bangladesh, you were in North South. How did you take what you learned in that year? And can you just walk us through that journey of the different things you did for social work?
Sure. So I started my community service journey quite early when I was 13. It actually started from home. So I took inspiration from my dad. He used to be very active in the Rotary community. So I used to see him doing lots of events. I would even go with him to some. So, doing something for people, giving back to the community. That concept I learned from my dad early on. So I would get myself involved with different, school projects and doing stuff like, tree plantation projects, and then giving winter clothes distribution and things like that. But it is during and I think those things actually helped me get the YES scholarship as well, because when you apply for the YES program, they also look not just at your academic grades, but also at what you have done. In terms of ECA, and I was very active in school as well. I have done debates, drama, music, dancing, and I was kind of involved with everything. So that helped me get the YES program. But when I went to the YES program, they actually, the US State Department sort of places us under different placement organizations in different states. So my placement organization was PAX, Program of Academic Exchange, and every placement organization has its own rules and regulations that you have to follow as their scholar. So PACS gave us this timeline that within that year, I would have to do 40 hours of community service. And we have a local coordinator who would, kind of find us different kinds of opportunities to do community service. So I have done stuff like I would go to my church twice a week. I would volunteer in the church kitchen. I volunteered in the church nursery, taking care of children when their parents are attending the service, things like that. Then I have I got myself involved with different community service clubs within my high school, so a recycling club. So we would go for like beach cleanup, bike trail cleanup, things like that. Then our local coordinator would also give us opportunity to volunteer in different like garage sale. Then, for example, I remember volunteering for this Halloween party for persons with disabilities. Then another one was I volunteered at a Thanksgiving dinner for unwanted pregnant teens, for example. So I tried different kinds of things. I would also volunteer in my host mom's daycare center. So by the end of that year, I ended up doing 460 hours of community service where I was supposed to do 40. Like I liked it so much, and I gained a lot of skills as well. Like communication skills, leadership skills. Definitely, I've built up on those. So when that award really motivated me, and I felt like, okay, why did I do all of these? I did so to show my gratitude to my host community for hosting me, right? But what about my country where I truly belong, where I have spent like my entire life, right? So when I got back home, a great thing about the YES program in Bangladesh is that the YES Alumni Bangladesh. So once you're done with the exchange program, you become a YES alumnus or alumna, right? So you can join the YES Alumni Bangladesh Association. And that's also when I got involved with NSU as well. I joined a lot of clubs. I was trying out like a lot of things. So whenever I would see there's an opportunity to volunteer, it can be any organization. I didn't have any particular focus. So I would try it out. I just loved volunteering in general. So my friends used to tease me, like, do you even have time to hang out with us? Like things like that. Anyway, so I kept trying. I didn't really, so I did a lot of projects with the YES Alumni Bangladesh Association. I was their executive committee member. So yeah, I did try a lot of things. So I have worked with children, I have worked with, on youth leadership, on health, on sanitation, all these things I was trying out. But in 2014, unfortunately, my mom died. So she had diarrhea. So she had diarrhea for just one day. And when I lost her, I mean, it's still a shock. I couldn't take it, because she went to work even the day before, and the next day she's gone. It was Bengali New Year's Day, Pohla Boishakh. And then I did some research. I just couldn't take it, and I found out that it's not really. I mean, it's not just my mother, but there are thousands of people who are dying from diarrhea alone, and it's a preventable disease. And then I found out that it's the second highest leading cause of death for children under age of 5, and it is not just within the boundary of Bangladesh, but it is a global problem. And the worst part is these are all preventable diseases. And then I was like, okay, this is the effect. What is the cause? What is the root cause? Behind all these problems. And then I found out it is related to sanitation, hygiene, clean water. So basically the wash space. Because when I started at that time, SDGs were not really introduced. It was the MDGs in 2014, and I didn't really know much about the WASH acronym even. And then slowly I got exposed to all these SDG 6, clean water and sanitation and all that, and I kept doing it. I did the WASH. I do the WASH talk, water sanitation and hygiene talk. So I reach out to vulnerable communities because I felt like me coming from an educated background, if I couldn't save my mother because I didn't know about all these stuff, what about those uneducated or marginalized communities who don't have access to awareness or education? How are they going to tackle this situation? So then I felt like I don't want anybody else to go through what I went through or I still go through. So that kind of motivated me to focus my work to the WASH sector. So since then, I've been focusing on this WASH space.
Thank you so much for sharing that story with us. And I know it takes a lot of courage to speak about this, something that's so personal to you, and speak about like the origin story of how you became a WASH activist, because it's so personal and intimate. So I'm really thankful to you for sharing that with us. And yeah, I completely agree that there's just so much that we could accomplish just by raising awareness, just by raising our voice and using our space to educate people who are undereducated, who don't have access to a free flow of information. And honestly, I feel like that could solve so many problems that are very pertinent in Bangladeshi society already and also globally. And the fact that you've been doing it for so many years, and you're just so committed to it, just speaks a lot to your passion about this cause. So thank you so much again for sharing that story with us. Yeah, it's quite difficult to follow up from that story, but I know that you gained the Diana Award. Was it for your work with the WASH activism space, or was it for something else? So could you talk to us about a bit about the Diana Award? Also, because I know that you were a judge this year for the competition, so that's amazing. Like, you won the award and then you became like someone on the judging panel. So if you could talk to us about your journey with the Diana Award Council.
Right, thank you. My journey with the Diana Award has been very amazing until now. So basically, I'm an alumna, I'm a fellow of the Global Changemakers Association. It's a Swiss-based organization. So I became their fellow when I attended the Global Youth Summit in 2016 in Switzerland. And since then, they have been really supportive of my work around the WASH space. So they actually are the ones who nominated me for the Diana Award in 2019. So there are like two awards. One is the Diana Award and another is the Diana Legacy Award. The Diana Legacy Award is biannual, so it happens every 2 years, unlike the Diana Award, which is annual. So when I received the Diana Award, it was definitely overwhelming. I didn't expect that I would get it. So I received it for my work around the WASH space for my organization, Awareness 360. And then after a couple of months, when it was time for the Diana Legacy Award, I also won that, and that was another amazing experience. So the Diana Award family really, focuses on building the skills of their awardees. So the Legacy Award ceremony, they call this a Legacy Experience Week, which was in London in 2019. So during that week, I had the chance to meet these incredible other Legacy Award recipients, who are very inspiring. So they definitely boosted my confidence as well in continuing what we do, and hearing from them, listening from them, like what obstacles that they have been through. It kind of motivated me to continue my journey as well. Also, I attended a lot of skill building sessions, capacity building sessions during that week. We also had the chance to meet Prince William, His Royal Highness Prince William, and getting recognized by all these people. It is overwhelming. At the same time, it is very motivating as well. And then when I came back, I kept, communicating with the Diana Award. I was very much involved with them in different aspects. So they would arrange different online capacity building sessions as well. So I always attend those. And then I had the chance to be a judge for this year's Diana Award, the 2020, which was another rewarding experience. I thought that this would be a chance for me to give back to the Diana Award family, and also because I have been awarded with the Diana Award and the Legacy Award, I know what it means to be, recognized for your work. So it is a great feeling, definitely, and I would really like to be a part of that process of, finding out those change makers from all around the world. So I gladly signed up for that position, and I had an amazing experience, reading out these amazing nominations, just seeing how incredible all these people are. So that was a source of inspiration for me as well, And then this year, because of COVID-19, so usually the Diana Award ceremony is just for the the UK-based awardees, and the international students receive a certificate by mail. But this year, because of COVID-19, the UK-based ceremony couldn't take place. So they wanted to go for the virtual ceremony, and because it is virtual, so they included both international and UK-based recipients. And then I got the opportunity to co-host this ceremony with the Diana Award, so which was another incredible experience, to actually be a part of this ceremony and celebrate everyone. So far, my journey has been amazing. So I have been involved with the Diana Award in various capacities, and I really think if anyone watching knows anybody who is, who is deserving of this award, definitely do nominate them.
You heard that, everyone. Like, if you know anyone who is awesome and is really changing their communities around them, then please do nominate them for the Diana Award. As you can hear from Shomy Apu, like, it's a very rewarding experience. And yeah, it sounds like they really love you, and I think for good reason, because you're so amazing and inspiring. Yeah, so I was also going through your bio, and I know that other than the Diana Award Council and the Global Changemakers Initiative, you're also part of the Royal Commonwealth Society, and you also judged the Commonwealth Essay Competition this year. So if you could talk to us a bit about how that happened and like how that partnership came about.
Sure. So because I'm a fellow of the Royal Commonwealth Society, I got the opportunity to be a judge for this year's Queen's Commonwealth Essay Competition, and I'm involved with this competition since last year because I was the representative of Bangladesh for this competition. So I really tried to give access to this particular opportunity to as many young people as I could. So this competition is open in two categories: junior and senior. The senior category is from 14 until 18 years old. So at max, you have to be 18 to participate in this competition. And this is definitely a great opportunity for people, to voice out on their opinions on different pressing problems. So this year's theme is based on climate change. And also it is a great opportunity to improve on your creative writing skills as well. And the winning entrants get a chance to go to meet the Queen of England and receive the prize at Buckingham Palace. So it is a great opportunity, and everyone receives a certificate. So I also, again, to the viewers, this is a great opportunity for you to participate. Actually, this year's, the 2021 is over already, but the next one is going to open soon. So I'm still in the process of judging the entries that have already been received. So I can't comment yet on how the judging experience went because I'm yet, in the middle of the process. And yes, my involvement with Commonwealth is also in different capacities as well. So other than the Royal Commonwealth Society, I'm also serving as the Asia representative of the Commonwealth Students Association, through which we represent the needs and aspirations of students across the Commonwealth countries, especially in the Asia region for my position. So what we do is basically we try to take their words to different. When we, for example, we attend different high-level meetings, especially to name one, it should be the Commonwealth Conference of Education Ministers, which takes place every 3 years. So the last one was in 2018 in Fiji. The next one will be next year, inshallah, if COVID is gone, in Kenya. So basically what we play, the CSA team plays an integral part in organizing that conference and the largest students congress during that conference as well. Also, we did a lot of capacity building projects for students. For example, like a few months ago, we did a sports exchange program for students from across the Asian Commonwealth countries. We also did an SDG awareness campaign. So students got to learn extensively about each of the SDGs, the indicators, the objectives, things like that. And also, most recently, I've been involved with the Commonwealth Youth Forum, which is a biannual program by the Commonwealth Youth Council. So I'm one of the policy leads for the Youth Forum International Task Force. So what basically we are doing is we are writing out a policy document, which we are trying to make it as inclusive as possible and as representative as possible, that what are the needs of the students, of the young people across the Commonwealth. And then when the Commonwealth Youth Forum happens in Rwanda, hopefully next year, we get to present that document to all the 54 heads of states or prime ministers of the Commonwealth countries. And so that they, take in and consider our recommendations and act accordingly.
Wow, that is amazing. And you speak about it so casually, but all of these things are just absolutely necessary things to change the space in which we are in and make sure that we are developing and we're progressing towards betterment for all different types of stakeholders. I think just to caveat that right now, you are in the truest sense of the term a global change maker in the capacities that you hold and the responsibilities that you hold right now. Any budding change makers or any aspiring change makers in the audience, what would be your tips for them? If you had to tell them about how to build themselves up, which skills to focus on to become a part of these different development projects and initiatives, what would those tips be?
My first tip would be, in order to be a change maker, you really need to identify your passion first. That's like the key step, because when you're, this journey It's not an easy journey, really. There will be a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges on your way. But if you're not passionate about what you're doing, there is a higher chance of you giving up. So that's why it's important for us to identify our passion. Now, this is something that I say to everyone pretty much in every interview, is that find your passion in what bothers you. Because oftentimes we associate the word passion with something happy or something, that gives you a feeling of joy or something. For example, I like music and my passion is to play piano or something. But I also think that we can seek inspiration from the problems around us. If there is something that bugs you so much, you will be proactive. You will not wait for someone else to come and tell you that this needs to be done, or you'll not just keep ranting about it, but actually take action to solve it in your individual capacity. So identifying the passion is very important. And to start with, those viewers who are watching this video, who will be watching this video later, I assume they have access to Google. And if you have access to Google, you have access to pretty much everything. So I highly recommend everyone to at least go through the SDG framework, to start with, because it is a great framework. It is very well structured, well framed. And the best part about the SDG and the key difference between the Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainable Development Goals is that the SDGs fall under, it can be applied to any country. Irrespective of the socioeconomic status, so developed country, developing country, any country falls under the SDG framework, the SDG umbrella. So no matter where you are from, which country you are from, you can definitely go through it, educate yourself, and not just knowing that, okay, SDG stands for Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 SDGs, but take a step further. Okay, you're curious about sanitation problems, you don't like that problem, or your community has that problem. Read about the SDG 6 in detail. What is 6.1? What is 6.2? What is 6.6 AB? Like the details of it, the objectives of it, because you can only then be a proper, a successful advocate for a certain cause if you know enough about that cause. And there are so many resources available on the internet that you can just, Google it up. So that's the first key. And also, I was recently reading up some materials, and I found this interesting story about the 3 bricklayers. So I don't know if you've heard about it. So if you, for example, if you reach out to, you meet 3 bricklayers, right? And you ask them, hey, what are you doing? The first person says, I am, layering a brick. The second person says, I am building a school. And the third person says, I am providing access to education to my community. So clearly you can see that even though 3 of them are doing the exact same job, they have a different sense of purpose. They have a different sense of calling, and you have a better chance of succeeding if you know what is your final goal. You have to be visionary. So I guess that is my first tip, to identify what you're passionate about. Do a community mapping. This is another misconception. Like, a lot of people think that if I have to be a change maker, I have to start something on my own. But the resources are limited, so there is no point in duplication of efforts. So if you do a community mapping, if you see that, okay, there are all these organizations already working on that issue, just lend your hand with them, join their cause. You don't necessarily have to lead all the time or hold such positions. Anyone can be a change maker, and it is very important for us to be a good follower too, along with being a leader. So that's number 2. And another thing is, instead of focusing on certifications or awards or such recognitions, we should change we should set the right parameters for success. We should be more impact driven rather than seeing how many certificates I'm gaining. We should see how many skills, or how much I am improving. So identifying your own strength, your own weakness, and knowing what you need to develop on, that is also another good way forward.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of those points, and I think it's fantastic advice to also not focus on certifications, because I remember when I was in high school, in 8th to 9th grade, I also used to be like that, because everyone was in a rat race to get the most certificates and go to the most competitions. So even a participation certificate was enough because it adds to their stack of certificates. But I honestly do agree with you that how much impact you have and how much commitment and passion you can show to a project will really determine how much you're contributing to your community. And just participating in a one-off conference is not really going to accomplish that. So I definitely think also being prepared that it's not going to be an instant gratification. It's going to be a long-driven cause that you have to passionately commit to. I think, yeah, I completely agree. Also in terms of like building up your leadership skills, communication skills, you're working on policy projects, so writing policy briefs and things like that. Like there are certain core skills that you need to be able to even join an initiative and be a productive contributor to that initiative. So say someone is in high school right now, like outside of their academics and outside of Googling and keeping themselves aware and informed, what are some tangible skills do you think that they could work on if they want to become a part of these types of initiatives or do social work or just, raise awareness?
Right. So key skills such as you've mentioned quite a few, like the leadership skill. This is something, as you continue. So, for example, you're now, your passion, which sector you want to work on. Definitely, it's not going to be possible to change everything at the same time. So, like, take things slow. Start with, start small. But then when you start doing a certain project, like gradually, automatically, you will gain those skills. So it's not really like, like you don't. I mean, you gain those skills by experience. So, for example, how I gained my communication skill is, I have spoken to people from different backgrounds. So, for example, and now I know that the way I speak to a slum dweller will not be the same way I speak to a president, for example. The wordings would be different. So I will probably have to use a dialect to speak to a sex worker, for example. So I really need to understand where I am, who I am speaking to, who my beneficiary is, and speak accordingly, act accordingly. So these are things that you will gradually gain. Leadership skill as well, it goes the same for leadership skill. Problem solving skills, these are things that you can really develop as you practice. So I guess sticking to an organization, one or two organizations, and really be committed to that organization, because for me, for example, most of these opportunities that I've gotten, one actually led to another. Because I was so devoted to a certain organization, if something came up, they actually remembered me, for example. I get certain messages from many young people very regularly. So, for example, someone would tell me that, Apu, I'm so sad that I couldn't go join I got accepted to that whatever conference in Bali, for example. But I'm sad I couldn't afford the registration fee and I couldn't go. But instead of being sad, instead of thinking that I couldn't go to Bali to join that certain model event conference, for example, you can see which model event conference is available in your community, which you can afford to go. Because the key motive in order to join that conference was to, build up your research skill when you're writing a position paper, for example, or building your negotiation skill, or communication skill, diplomacy skills. So you can gain those skills even attending a conference in your country as well. Of course, traveling abroad is great. You get to meet a lot of different people. That's amazing. But instead of being sad and giving up and being like, okay, I can't afford it, this is just not my thing, try to see what is available, around you, and make the most of that opportunity. So, and eventually you will gain those skills. Eventually you will build your profile. And then at one point you will see that you are getting invited to different fully funded opportunities. If those recognitions and all those things are coming to you. So I guess being passionate and sticking to your mission is the key way to go, and eventually you'll gain those skills.
So I guess commitment to your passion and just consistency would be like the two key things for people, like kids to improve. Yeah, thank you so much for that very, very, very helpful answer. So just to take like a different turn to this interview, I know that you co-founded Awareness 360, and I've been following you guys for a while now. So if you could talk to me about a little bit about the incentive or the motivation behind creating a space like this, and like the day-to-day activities, logistics of how you're managing Awareness 360, because I know you guys have a lot of international guests, and you were like recently interviewing kids who are change makers, and that was very, very wholesome and cute. So if you could like talk to me a bit about the logistics, how you approach the different strategies to build awareness through Awareness 360.
Thank you for that question. So, I had this passion for the WASH space, right? So I was doing my thing, and my friend, my co-founder, Rijvi, he had a passion for the quality education space, and he was also busy with other organizations. And somehow we became friends, and now we're best friends. So we were eating burger, just casually hanging out at a burger joint, and we were just casually talking about, how young people like us, we want to give back to our community. So at one point of the conversation, we were like, you know what, there might be people like us who also want to do something, but they don't have that platform to, kickstart things. Just knowing very basic things. Those who know, those who want to do something, but they don't know, they need a little guidance or push. And just like that, from a casual conversation at a burger joint, Awareness 360 evolved. And since then, now we are working in 23 countries, alhamdulillah. So we have a huge global family who are, amazing change makers. And the thing about the best thing about us is we give the opportunity to anyone and everyone. Like whoever has that passion for doing something for their community, they can be a part of our platform. So we start off with very basic things like how to write a project proposal, how to write a project report, how to do documentation and reporting. So very basic things. So even before they go in the field to do a project, we tell them what they should expect, what they should not expect. And we help them with all sorts of paperwork and everything. And of course, we have this global family, a lot of change makers to inspire each other. And in Bangladesh, one of our focus areas is we also teach them about the SDGs, and they can pick. We give them a lot of liberty on which project they want to work on. It can be in line with any SDG. But in Bangladesh, one of our focus areas is WASH. So what we do is we reach out to vulnerable communities, hard to reach communities. So we have worked with sex workers, with sewerage workers, with slum dwellers, with persons with disabilities, school children, different kinds of people. So we reach out to them. In a typical WASH talk, we cover things like how to wash hands properly, the proper hand washing technique, how to filtrate water at home, the significance of it, raising awareness, the community awareness about the different aspects of WASH, how very basic things like how you can, why you should clip your nails short, then things like how to manage your menstrual hygiene. So we are trying to break the stigma around menstruation as well. How to make pads at home. So things like that. So far, we've raised quite a lot of awareness in all these countries. And logistics-wise, social media is like the greatest tool for us because it is not technically it is not feasible for us to reach out to all these countries physically. So social media is the key. So what we do is we keep in touch with all our members on a very regular basis. So we have monthly meetings with all the country ambassadors, and we have a proper accountability method of if you're doing a proposal, you have to submit a report and you have to provide evidence with photos, videos, and all that. Regarding finance, we have this policy called the zero budget policy, because we don't really, it's a completely youth-led and non-profit organization, so we don't charge any membership fee from any member. All these events, we don't charge any registration fee or anything. We don't get any remuneration ourselves, so it's completely a passion project. So basically, we have this thing called the zero budget policy. So we encourage our members to think of all the unnecessary costs. So for example, if they're writing a project proposal, if they are going to a certain school to raise awareness about sanitation and hygiene, do I really need to print a banner for every project? If there's a projector, I don't have to print it. Do I really have to print T-shirts for every project? So we really come up with we go into detail and we cross things out. So that way we can reduce the cost, and then we do a community level fundraising, because that is also another way to raise awareness about an issue, because people will give me fund when they know what they're paying for. So that's pretty much logistically we are running. And during COVID-19, unfortunately, the whole world is at halt, so we had to stop all our in-person projects. But then we realized that our members are facing kind of, it's a huge toll on their mental health, and we felt like we should do something about it. We need to keep them occupied, and that's when we did a fundraiser for the sex workers. We provided them COVID-19 relief materials as well. But other than that, for our members, we launched the Awareness 360 Facebook Live series. So that's the kids session was a part of that. So we were just hosting different, skills-based and discussion-based topics for our members to, just broaden their understanding and getting different perspectives from different change makers from around the world. So yeah, and it's been going well so far.
Wow, that sounds like a mammoth task that you've been able to pull off, and this is just so inspiring. I'm absolutely in awe of your persistence and just how strong you are in leading these initiatives and sticking to sticking to it and looking after all the people that you're managing, and not just asking them to do something for the community, but like thinking about how you can keep them engaged so that they can give back to their community in turn. I think this is a fantastic model, and I think anyone listening or like watching this interview who wants to build something themselves, they will get a lot of like useful advice from what you've just told us about Awareness 360. Yeah, thank you so much for that answer. So I guess the next natural question for me is that, like, you finished your undergraduate degree in 2.5 years, and you did so many of these things. You built so many things from scratch, and you also traveled like around the world. You've been to 5 different continents for different conferences and projects. How do you manage your time? And for anyone really passionate about doing like more than they are able to do right now, but cannot because of time management, like what would be your tips to keep their energy levels high, persevere, and like get so many things done?
Okay. Well, I think setting your priority first, that's like the key way to go. You need to know which one you should prioritize more. Another thing that I do personally is, setting the deadline a day or two earlier than the real deadline, because I'm kind of the person who needs a deadline to push myself. So that's why because if you're waiting for the very last minute, there might be some kind of problems, lots of issues can arise. So it's always good to have some spare time in hand. So just setting your own routine and following that. And another thing I do is I maintain a schedule. So I keep everything, like I write everything down. So starting from very basic things, like even if I'm writing an email to somebody, I write it down. And then when I I take them off, it gives me a sense of accomplishments. I feel like, okay, I've done something, so that kind of motivates me that, okay, one more stuff to take, so that I guess that's how I manage my time. Yeah.
Actually, same. Like, I completely relate to that, ticking something off your to-do list. Like, everyone keeps telling me that use a Google Calendar, and I do for big events, but I really micromanage my day by writing everything down physically on a planner, and just the physical like activity, like physical act of scratching something with a pen is like so satisfying. Like, I completely get that. Like, after we're done with this interview, I'm going to scratch it off, and it's going to be the end of my day, and I'm like, I know what you're talking about. So yeah, I guess that those are very basic time management tips. Do you have anything like very specific that you do in terms of scheduling? So I guess what I mean by that is the things that you're doing can sometimes be very emotionally and mentally demanding. It can sometimes be physically demanding. So are there any tips you follow in terms of how to have a good mix of less demanding and more demanding activities in a day, so that you don't get burnt out or exhausted? Or if you are burnt out, what do you do? Because I think burnout is very real and very normal amongst young people these days, and I guess how to bounce back from an episode like that would be a very helpful thing to also know about.
Yeah. It's kind of a tricky question. I don't have any hard and fast rule that I follow. It just sort of happens. Okay. What was the question again? I'm sorry, I'm kind of spacing out.
No worries.
You said that how?
So my question was, if you do you follow any specific guidelines in terms of how to have a mix of less demanding and more demanding things that you have to do in a day, so that you don't burn out? Or if you do burn out, like, what do you do to bounce back?
Right. So I do take breaks a lot. So when I'm like done with 2 things, off my list, so then I would take like a half an hour break or something just to refresh my mind. And also, I mean, sometimes it is very, it is a lot of pressure to take at times. So at some point I would be really burned out, and I would feel like, my mental health, my sanity is more important than anything else. So but I'm very thankful that all these organizations that I'm involved with, they're very supportive. So even if sometimes I'm late and, in replying to any certain email or something, they're very understanding. So that's also very important. So this would come in terms of those who are in the other side of things. So I think we should really understand what our members are going through, what people who are asking something to do, what they are going through, and be a bit lenient at times. So what I do is just be honest. So instead of making something up, like just coming up with some sort of regular excuses, I really say that what, I was just tired, and I'm sorry that I took. So I think just being honest with whoever you're submitting that thing to, just be honest and be like, what, I needed some time to rest. So that's, I guess, the key to go, and that's what pretty much I do. But other than that, I don't really have any sort of like solid tip to offer, really. Sorry.
No worries. I think the fact that you acknowledge that you can also be exhausted and tired is very helpful, because a lot of times I have heard this from younger students that, I could never be someone like that because I get exhausted, I get tired, and I have bad mental health days. And I think you can do these sorts of big projects and you can be committed to a cause like this and take breaks as well. Everyone is human, and just like humanizing someone who is so accomplished like you, who also takes breaks and who also takes days off because you're tired and exhausted, I think that in itself is very helpful for the audience.
And also, I think it's important to be able to say no. If you have too much on your plate, just say that I'm busy, I can't.
Yeah.
And it should be, if someone gets offended by that, it's their problem, it's not your problem, because you should know your limit. For example, during these COVID-19 days, I mean, I have so many meetings scheduled and planned. So I try to schedule maximum 3 meetings. I don't go over that. And another problem that I face personally is the time zone problem, like you were saying just before we started this interview, that because I deal with so many people from so many different countries and time zones, sometimes the timings are like really weird for me. So I have to wake up at 3 in the morning to attend a meeting. So my sleep schedule kind of gets messy, like quite a lot of times. So this is something I myself need to work on. But I think being able to say no is very, very important, and setting your priority first. That is very important.
Yeah. Everyone in the audience, you can change the world if you're burning out yourself, so please take care of yourself. This is a PSA. And also, what a mood, like being involved with projects from around the world and that messing up your sleep schedule is, I think, something that needs to be talked about more, especially in an increasingly globalized world. It opens up opportunities, but also we have to be very careful about how much we are committing to, and whether we're stretching ourselves too thin. I'm definitely someone who needs to work on that. So yeah, thank you for, this is like a very nice reminder for that. So I guess my next question is also a bit about just taking breaks and keeping yourself healthy and happy. What do you do for fun? So if you have, say, a day off, or if you're taking a day off from work and from all of these projects, what would you do ideally to just have fun and wind down?
Oh, it's just very basic. I would, so when I was in Malaysia, I would just go out to travel somewhere. It's such a beautiful country and I had so many places to discover. I love traveling. So I would just, get a bunch of friends and we would go out on a long drive. So that would be pretty much an ideal day of vacation or break for me. But now during COVID-19, it's really, I'm just spending family time because, I've been away from home for quite a while. So I'm enjoying family time, watching, series, some movies. I'm not a huge movie person or a reader. So yeah, I'm just watching Friends a lot. It's like the go-to series.
I asked this question to another person that I was interviewing, and she said that right now, it's watching Netflix. And I think that's so relatable, right? Like everyone's just watching Netflix to take a break these days. Netflix is probably generating a lot of revenue from this pandemic. So I guess my last question for you would be, what has been the most humbling experience of your life? I know that you've traveled a lot, and I know that you probably have many of these experiences, so you can talk about as many as you want, but just what has been the most inspiring and humbling experience that you have had?
Wow, it is difficult. I've been lucky to have had so many of such experiences. Okay, but one that is coming to my mind right now is, so I went to this conference. It's the IARN 2018 conference in Virginia. And there was this lady. So right after I finished my keynote, she came up to me. She's from Palestine, and she told me that, Shomy, I will remember Bangladesh because of you. And when she said that, like I was just so emotional. I got very, I don't know, I was driven with emotions at the moment, and I was just so happy. And that's one of those experiences that really reminds me of what my true purpose is. When I go to all these international platforms, I'm actually truly there to, so I really need to know what I'm speaking, what I'm doing, how I'm acting, how I'm behaving, not just during formal conferences and such, but like in general as well. I should always keep in mind that who I'm truly representing, where I truly belong. So my ultimate identity is I'm a Bangladeshi, and people will know Bangladesh through me. So yeah, that's one of those experiences that really inspire me a lot.
That's amazing. And I'm sorry, I said that was the last question, but I have one more question. So I think as a Bangladeshi, especially as a Bangladeshi woman, we do face lots of questions or taunting by society if we are doing all these international projects and becoming this very outspoken figure. And also because of the nature of the types of projects that you did, you were also traveling a lot. So I'm sure that a lot of people in the audience a lot of girls do face difficulties, explaining things to their family that, I need to go abroad alone for this conference. Have you faced any of these challenges? And if so, how did you overcome them? What would be your advice for anyone watching who's probably going through similar challenges?
Yes, I have faced similar challenges quite a lot of times, but it was different from different people in different scenarios for different reasons. So, for example, when I first started my first wash talk, the proper wash talk, it was 4 days after my mother died. So my own family members were like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Take some time to grieve. Just to pray for your mom and things like that." And I was really driven by emotions at that stage, and I just told people that, what, I need to go out there. And the organization which was funding it was IRNBD and IRN USA. They also gave me the option to not do it. They were like, "You know what, just cancel it or postpone it. You can do it later." But at that time, I was really into that moment so much that I felt like I need to go out there and do it. So I didn't really listen to them, so I kept doing it. But then later on, I was mocked by many people actually, because they didn't take this seriously. They were like, what are you doing? Like teaching people how to wash hands, because now during COVID-19, we are seeing a lot of, noise around this issue. But at that time, a lot of people were really not happy about what I'm doing. But I just didn't listen to them. And I was lucky that my dad was very supportive of my work. So because my immediate family was supportive, I could actually go out there and pursue those opportunities. And there are a lot of people who are doing a lot these days too. So I think seeing them as example and as taking them inspiration from them, and telling our parents that, see, if she can do it, I can do it as well. And what good is going to bring it to your profile, to your future other opportunities. Explaining it properly to our parents, or to our family. I think that's a good way to go. And also, not just regarding my wash journey or traveling abroad, I have also faced sort of discrimination when it comes to, body shaming, for example, then racism, things like that. But I guess the right way. So, for example, I met this person in London, and he heard about me from someone else, and I was supposed to meet him to get something. Anyway, so he assumed that when he heard about me, he assumed, something about me. When he met me, he actually told me, "Oh, so I thought you would be a tall, big lady." So automatically he has this picture, because someone who has what a tiny lady like me can't really travel the world. So if we really listen to those people, it is time we speak up for ourselves. It is time we stand up, and we don't we just ignore them and show them what we are capable of. So I think that's the best way to go. Yeah.
And I think also having examples like you really helps, because it helps create a sense of solidarity, that there is a community there who are facing all of these challenges, but are also braving all of these challenges together. And I think that's very helpful. And I completely relate to the whole point about, a tiny lady cannot travel the world alone. I was asked so many times by different immigration officers, are you traveling alone, and are you even 18, things like that. And Yeah, thank you so much for being such a strong example for women just breaking barriers and being outspoken and, even speaking up about issues like helping sex workers and menstruation. And I definitely agree with you on the point that like most of the change that we can bring can be through just identifying simple problems like people not knowing how to wash their hands properly, which can lead to issues and health concerns. And yeah. So I guess just to end this interview, if you could tell a bit about what's next for you, what are some of the current projects you're working on other than Commonwealth and Diana Award and Awareness 360, of course. Like what's next for Shomy Chowdhury?
Well, right now, like the whole world is, it's so uncertain. It's hard to tell what you want to do. But definitely, I want to continue what I'm doing. So continue the work of Awareness 360, expand it even further. But our next plan is, because I told you earlier during the interview that, we give a lot of liberty to our members, that they can choose which SDG they want to work on. But now we really want to segregate our members based on which SDG they want to work on and focus on certain skills that they will need in order to do projects in line with those certain areas, certain SDGs. So that's the plan that we have. We will also recruit new members very soon. We will launch the call. So if any viewer wants to, join Awareness 360, they're welcome to follow our Facebook page. Once the call is released, they can apply to be a member. So yeah, and regarding my master's, I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do academically because of the whole COVID-19 situation. I need to pursue for a scholarship. So yeah, I'll see how it goes. I don't really have any solid answer to my future plan.
No worries. I think the fact that you say that you don't have a solid plan, but you have all of these other plans that you just told me about, just goes to show like how ambitious you are and how much you want to give back and do for the community. And all the best with your master's applications, everything else that is in the works for you. And thank you so much for making time, despite your really, really busy schedule, to just speak to us. I think many, many people will be inspired by this interview. Do you have any like last message or advice for anyone watching in the audience?
Yes, my last advice to young people watching this would be, if you see a problem in your community, go and take action. Don't wait for anybody else to do it for you, or don't wait for anybody else to tell you what to do. Just start now, don't wait for anyone. That's pretty much it. And thanks to the Bangladeshi Perspective, thank you for, managing time to do this interview. So it was really a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for being so kind throughout the interview. Thanks to Siam as well for this invitation. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the pleasure is all mine. I'm so motivated and inspired from talking to you today, and I'm definitely going to go to bed with a lot of motivation to face tomorrow. Yeah, so thank you so much again for making time, and thank you to everyone who's going to watch this video. And stay tuned for amazing interviews coming your way from the Bangladeshi perspective. This is Fahrisa signing out. Bye.